Hello, fitness fam. Welcome to episode 13 of the Flow University YouTube channel. My name is Stefan Bowden. I'll be your host today. And in today's episode, we'll be talking about the 4 quadrants of fitness. We will dive into a little bit into what biohacking is, but specifically, we'll be focusing on the 4 different spheres of fitness to help you, the viewer, in best maximizing your fitness and going out into everyday life in that external environment to make sure that you are set up and ready to go to battle any of the influences, suggestions, and the wills of other individuals, businesses, and tactics that have been implemented within modern society to get you to give into that suggestion and maybe have you divulge some of your resources, your time, and your energy. I hope you guys are prepared for this week's episode of the Flow University YouTube channel. I hope you all enjoy what is in store for you today. Let's get started. There is no such thing as perfect in this world. That may sound cliche, but it's the truth. The average person admires perfection and seeks to obtain it. But what's the point of achieving perfection? There is none. Nothing. Not a single thing. I loathe perfection. Tite Kubo. As we get ready for episode 13 of the Flow University YouTube channel, we'll be discussing the 4 quadrants of fitness, starting off with key number 1, training. Now, in a previous episode, I briefly went into what these 4 quadrants are, but in today's episode, we will be going deeper into what each of these quadrants are in more detail. The first quadrant in this 4 diagram, I want you to imagine in your mind's eye that we have a square. And in the square, I want you to divide it into 4 different subcompartments. Now, to my upper right, your upper left, this quadrant right here is training. Now, when you come down, straight down, your bottom left, my bottom right, this is nutrition. Now, going to my left, your right, this is recovery. And then coming up, this is community. And obviously, when you create the box and you divide it into 4 quadrants, you will then have a point, the center point. That center point is biohacking. So I want you to, again, you can, if you have a pen and paper with you, write this down, pause the video, and this is exactly how this looks. So draw a square, then divide it into 4 different subcompartments. In the middle, place biohacking. To the upper left, place training. Going straight down, place nutrition. Then going to your right, place recovery, and then coming straight up, place community. Now, going into the first quadrant, training. When I first got into fitness, all I was working on was more so I was trying to lose as much weight as possible. And anytime you begin a consistent exercise routine, most of the time it starts with a goal, it starts with a why. And this is very important, and this helps you in the beginning stages. But later on, as life gets more chaotic, as discipline begins to wane and staying consistent becomes harder, and you make more progress, it becomes harder for you to see more and more progress. This is why a lot of people hit plateaus. This is why a lot of people hit roadblocks. This is why a lot of people stop training, because they get to a place where they can't really get more bang for their buck and they don't know what to do. So there's a lack of knowledge here. And so in this first box, we're going to start with movement. So everything, in a sense, is moving always. So if you go all the way down to the smallest particle of atom, right? You have the atom, and that is always moving. But then going from there all the way forward, you get to the blood that's pumping throughout your body. That's movement. Your heart is pumping. That's movement. The neurological systems in your body, that's sparking. That's movement. So when you're breathing, that's movement. So place movement in the training tab, and I want you to begin to view movement not just purely through the lens of when you're in a facility or when you're in a gym. As long as you can perform movement at a higher level, you then can engage with training. So essentially all you want is this is specificity, get a specific set of movements that you can do over a repeated time span that you can add different loads, play with different frequencies and different stress levels that will get your body to undergo a specific adaptation to get you to the outcome that you want. And so whenever you engage with training, this is exactly what you want it to look like. So for example, if you want to be a basketball player, then the training you should be doing should be predicated to the environment that is basketball. If you want to be a skydiver, this doesn't just have to do with bodybuilding, powerlifting, and Olympic weightlifting, things that are more so thought of being in the gym or fitness sphere. This can be done in almost any realm you want it to, because what we're doing, as this is connected to biohacking, is we're hacking the body's DNA, the evolutionary aspect of ourselves, and we're getting the body and we're forcing it to adapt to a specific thing and environment, and we're placing our bodies consciously in that environment to force this adaptation. So training is just you doing things and placing your body in certain environments and having your body do certain things as if you were always living within that environment. And so a lot of times what will happen is a lot of individuals, when they go to the gym, they create distinctions and they create separations. And what they'll do is they'll go into the gym and they'll do workouts and then they'll leave the gym, but there's no transference, there's no translation. And so what you, the viewer, want to do is you want to begin to connect the dots. So essentially, even if it's for something as fleeting as you want a attractive body, and what areas, in what ways do you want the body to seem and appear attractive? Then you would have to work on body language. Then you would have to work on how you display such things. And so now training isn't just you going into the gym and swinging your legs on a leg curl machine or a leg extension machine. Now your training encompasses posing, because posing can have a element of fitness within it if it's done in a specific way and manner. So for you, the viewer, it's engaging with training more as a tool and more as a multidimensional process than simply I'm following a set program that was given to me by an individual. Yes, you can subscribe to a program, but remember, it is a program. And so the program can be changed and the program can be manipulated. And so once you understand this, then you can begin to program yourself. This is how you take conscious and you retake control and sovereignty over your health and your wellness. Instead of giving that up to other individuals who may or may not have the best interest for you, now you're able to say, okay, this is what I want, and this is how I want things to go. So let's say, for example, you want to live to be over 100 years old. Well, I forget the name of it, but what do people who live to 100 years old, what is their environment like? And how do these people who are over 100 years old, what do they do? How do they act? What are their daily routines? And so this can go in your training block. And now you see, okay, when they wake up in the morning, they're engaging in Qigong. They're doing a martial art. They are engaging in a certain type of flexibility training, stability training. They're doing some type of strength training. And so you're able to see, okay, this is the environment that gets people to live to 100 years old. And so this is the type of training I probably should be doing. Or let's say, for example, let's say you want to be an NFL player, right? Okay. Well, what is the environment of NFL players? Do NFL players engage in sedentary, static, simply vertical and horizontal movement? Or is the movement of a football player more fluid in nature? Or are there more zigzags? Is it more, lines and arrows? Then that's the kind of training you should be doing. So obviously you want to engage in every single sphere of fitness, and I'll be creating another video in how you do such a thing. But specifically, you want to teeter the training in the program towards whatever environment that you're trying to enter. Let's say you're trying to become a soccer player. Well, in soccer, you're using mostly your legs and your feet. You're not using your hands at all because you can't touch the ball. And you might use your head every once in a while. So your training needs to be predicated on heavy leg dominant movement that has you going in more fluid natures of bodily movement instead of you doing more movement that is predicating every single system in your body and all your limbs. So getting you to consciously be more highly focused on using your legs to aid you and be of advantage for you, and how to use your hands in more so of a secondary assist resource instead of necessarily the prime mover. So this is how you can work for such a thing. And so obviously when you are dealing with training, you want to do a lot of data tracking. You do want to have certain main movements that you are doing. I'll give you guys, if you still have your pen and paper out, create a line. This is the next thing you want to do when you're doing your program. And this is just this is a quick skeleton for you guys. So you want to warm up, but the warm up should predicate and be geared towards the type of exercises you're doing for that day, or the type of skill that you're doing that day. I apologize. So the first aspect is obviously the warm-up, but then you can divide the warm-up into subcomponents. So the warm-up should have an element of it where you are increasing the body's heart rate and increasing the body's temperature so that the muscle tissue can relax, especially if it's tight. You don't want to go into a high intensity or a high level or high performance situation and the muscle tissue is still tight, restricted, or if the body is cold. So what you want to do is you want to at least warm the body. So at the very least, the muscle tissue can relax just a little bit. You want it, your muscles, it's almost like Play-Doh to a degree. It's like Play-Doh combined with a rubber band. So if you guys ever had mochi too, it's like it'll go to a certain direction and then it'll mold back. That's how you want the musculature in the body to be. You want it to bend a little bit, but you don't want it to break. And so a lot of times, if you don't have the proper warm up, what will then happen is that the body hasn't been primed for it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to warm the body up. This is why going into the sauna is very good. Not before your workout, you do this afterwards. And that's why you feel so relaxed. It's because you're heating up the body's temperature so much that the muscles, the intrinsic muscles that are surrounding the spine, that are surrounding the hips, that are surrounding some of the joints in the body, even those have a chance to relax. So, but sticking here, you want to warm up, sub-categorize it into two parts. I place phase 1, phase 2. And the first phase is body warming. I call this muscle activation and a little bit of muscle relaxation, especially if you are in cold environments and you want to engage in very high level movement. I would want the muscle tissue to relax now just a little bit and not be too tight, because you might go for a movement. You might go for a cut, you might go for a hard plant. And if the body isn't ready and the tissue's too tight, that might lead to a detrimental circumstance for you. Phase 2, I apologize. Phase 2 is primer movements. So this is when you do movements. This is where you're working on the neurological system. This is where you're working on getting the body to be prepared for the movements that you're doing throughout the day. So in phase 1, all you're doing is just waking the body up. In phase 2, what you're doing is you're letting the body know that, okay, this is what we're doing today. So the body's ready. So it's like, if you guys have been in very stressful situations, the body's tendency is for it to freeze. And the body's tendency is for it to shut off and collapse together, right? And this is fear in the body. And so whenever the body is presented in a situation or circumstance when it is not used to or hasn't been in before, then the natural thing for the body to do is to protect itself. So by doing these primer movements, yes, you're not only, letting your body know from a neurological perspective that this is what we're doing today. And now the stress decreases and the unknown decreases and the fear decreases, but also now from a muscle tissue muscle memory connection, now it goes straight through. You're like, oh, this is what we're doing today. The body knows this is what's going to happen. So That's the warm up. Then you go into most of the time, this is where you do right after the warm up is where you should do the most taxing movements of the day. And so it could be compound movements or high explosive movements if you're more so a athlete, but it should be the movement that's going to take away the most energy. You never want to do a movement that takes away the most energy at the end of the workout. Why? Because imagine you are a battery, right? In a lot of ways you are, and you only have so much energy. So let's say you're doing, and and you can switch the two, right? So let's say one day you have to do a lot of strength training, right? But you still have some skill you have to do in a day. Well, we're still focusing on the training aspect of the quadrant. So let's say the skill development you're doing is you have to do a lot of jumping, and let's say you're a basketball player and you have to do jumping, you have to dunk a lot, right? And let's say you're new at dunking. And so now to dunk, you have to expend so much energy to dunk, right? But now you still have to do that weight training session. Well, this is what I would do. I would go ahead and let's say you have to do 10 dunks, right? I will go ahead and dunk a little just in the beginning, get that out the way, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to go back and try to dunk later on and you don't have the energy to do it. So if you know that this movement is going to take the most out of me, do that movement first and then go into the rest of the movements. And so you could switch compound and skill or skill and compound, but it really depends on what you are focusing on in that day of training. So if let's say you are a swimmer and you're going into your swimming workout and you've done the warm up and your coach is giving you that. Well, let's say, for your swimming portion of the workout, you have sprints and you have a 100-meter sprint, right? And you have to do it at some point in the workout. And man, these 100-meter, I can do 400 flies and 400 breaststroke, but for this 100-meter sprint, it takes so much out of me. I do the 100 meters, just get that out the way. So for myself, I do snatches with a kettlebell. I try to do 100 snatches with a kettlebell and I do 100 swings. And I know, and for the snatches with a kettlebell take a lot out of me. So I do the snatches earlier in my training session than later, because if I came and I tried to do it later in the session, I know I would not be able to get to 100, or my fatigue level would be so high at the low point that me even attempting to get to 100 is going to take more. So there's a give and a take from it. So I would do the hardest in the beginning, and then you can go more so into, okay, now I can focus more so on, those soft skills. I can focus more so on the footwork. I can focus more so on the technical aspect of it, because I know this is not going to take too much energy out of it. I can just focus a lot more on just what the movement is. I don't have to shut off. A lot of times what will happen is, when people go into doing very extraneous exercise, activity, or performance, what happens is that a lot of individuals will shut off. And I know this from firsthand experience, playing football in college. The game's on, we're playing, we're on the field, and it's click. So you want to be mindful as much as possible, because this is what's going to lead to that mind-body connection. And now you can begin to enter into flow state. Yes, flow state is a part of training. You can get to a point where you can consciously enter flow state, but there needs to be a system and a way of doing it. This is why routines are so important. This is why people in the NFL, the NBA, even CEOs and high-level professionals, this is why they have routines. Because what the routines is doing is, letting the body know, we're going back into the same thing we've been before. And so now you don't have to consciously think while you're doing the thing. Now your mind can wander. Now your mind can go outside and pick up on different things that previously, when you were in the thick of it and you were just worried about getting through it, you couldn't consciously think about. So this is about expanding your awareness, expanding your consciousness. And this is why having your training set and having that program can allow you to do different things, because now you can pick up on your strengths and your weaknesses. Now you can pick up, okay, now you squatted today and you were squatting, and now you can pick up on, okay, the squats were good, but it could have been better. Why wasn't it better? Well, now my head was tilted a little too far down. Well, my left foot was twisted a little too far out. my breathing wasn't correct. Now you can focus more so on those 1% things that will lead you in getting to the next level, especially if you want to truly be one of the best in your field, industry, or sport. This is what separates you. Getting and learning how to consciously get in the flow state will take you to the next level. This is what I've done with this YouTube channel. I've gotten to a place where I just flow into these videos each and every week. And there's a routine, there's a process that I do before I do such a thing. So this can help you not just in physical training with the body. This can help you in mental training as well. This can help you even in spiritual training when you go and you're dealing with situations. Like on my way, I just came from getting my haircut, and on my way home, I'm driving past a bunch. This is my cheat day too. So I'm driving past a bunch of restaurants and fast food places, and I could stop at any time and go in and buy something, get something to eat. Well, in my mind, I've already decided that this is not what I'm going to do. Why? Because I have a routine, I have structure. So in training, you do want a small degree of structure, but it doesn't have to be super hard-nosed, simply because you want to be able to change and manipulate it. So you have absolute aspects of a program structure, then you have subjective aspects of it. The subjectivity of the training program is just what you are doing. What environment are you placing yourself in? The objective aspects of the training program is a skeleton, is a structure. But then once you have that set in stone, then you can essentially simply take out and plug in. So let's say you are wanting to run 10 miles. Well, you can have a structure in this process. You have the absolute structure of the program, but now you can have a subjective. So you have your warm up. You have your most taxing energy taker. Then you have kind of the meat and the potatoes, right? Now you have, okay, this is where I got to do a lot of the boring movements. This is where I might have to work on, that stability stuff. This is when I might have to work on that mobility stuff. This is when I might have to work on a little bit of hypertrophy. This is where I might have to work on, dribbling and doing all that, just mindless stuff, even though in this you should be mindless. This is where you can go more so into that aspect of it. And then at the end can be where you can work on a little bit of cardio, where you can work on a little bit of that cardiovascular system. And so then at the end for the cool down can be literally just you going for a nice slow walk, getting the heart rate down. Some days you should stretch, some days you should not stretch. You don't want to stretch too much. If you are an athlete that is dealing more so with power and explosion, simply because if you overstretch the muscle tissue, it's going to take away from the condensivity of it, and it won't be able to fire as hard and as impactful. So you want to keep it nice and compact as much as possible, but you don't want it too compact and too tight, because then when you go through it and it begins to stretch, then you might snap it. So there's a yin and yang, there's a balance. So I would play around. Every single person knows their body uniquely. For you, that might be, hey, I need to do long stretch sessions twice a week. And then I might need to do stretch sessions 3 times a week. So a lot of times what you individuals will see is that in modern society and on social media, you'll see training programs and you'll see coaches, but the coach can only get you so far as an athlete or as a fitness individual or just as a regular person. At a certain point, this is why I created this. This is really why I'm so passionate about fitness, is because once you take power in your own hands, then you can begin to learn more about yourself than what any person can tell you. So when you get to this level, this is when this is where you really begin to listen to your body, and you begin to listen to what's going on in the external environment. And you're able to understand how, in what ways to maneuver and navigate around this. So specifically for, let's say you want to really get to that next level, and let's go with squatting. So let's say you've gotten to the point where you're squatting 500 pounds and you've been doing everything your coach tells you, and you've gotten to this point, but now you can't see any progress. Well, why? Now you have to begin to learn more deeper. You need knowledge. You have experience, but now you need knowledge in order to get a higher level of understanding. So the knowledge you need is more knowledge about self, but specifically, what about self? Well, how is your body structured? How does your body function? How does your body operate? In what ways does your body work in certain environments? Does the weather affect how your body is performing does the temperature, does the aspect of how many people are around you. Are you this is when you get into personality. This is when you get into psychology. This is when you really go deep within yourself and you begin to go within so that when you come back out, now it's like, okay, now I know what to do. Now when I go into the gym, I know, okay, I can't squat 500 pounds every single day. I can squat 500 pounds, but maybe like once a month. So maybe instead of me squatting 500 pounds once a week or every day like I have been doing, I'm only going to squat over 500 pounds one time a month. And so the rest of my training program is going to be predicated on me working on other aspects of myself to get to the point where I can increase my deficiencies, which will then aid me when I go to the 500-pound squat, making it more easy, more efficient for me. So this is what I did. When I was in powerlifting and I was preparing for my third competition, I looked deep within myself. I looked in the mirror and I said, what is wrong with me? But not in a detrimental way, in a way where, what are my weaknesses? In what ways can I improve? Where am I deficient? And this forces you to look at your faults, but not really as faults, as opportunities. Because when you're able and you are willing to see your faults and your failures as opportunities, this is where you can grab onto hope, and this is where true progress can occur. But true progress can never occur if you're always never willing to really look at your faults. You're never willing to say, man, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I have been living in a little bit of a bubble. Maybe I have been ignoring some things. And so we're still in training, but a lot of individuals, they're unwilling to engage with every single or do what it takes to simply get to that level. Maybe to lose those 5 pounds, to lose those 10 pounds, to lose those 15 pounds, maybe sitting on the leg curl machine, swinging your legs isn't the best thing for you. Maybe you need to be pushing the sled. Maybe you need to be doing jumping jacks. Maybe you need to be squatting more with a barbell. Maybe you need to be doing more stuff with a kettlebell. Maybe you need to be doing more high intensity movement. Maybe you need to be focusing more so on cardiorespiratory exercises that are getting that heart rate up. And so maybe you just need an entirely different program than what you're doing, but you have to be willing to look in the mirror and say, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Let's go back to baseline level and let's redo this. So guys, still sticking with training, I'm going to simplify this for you. In that quadrant, place movement, place program, place control, place mindfulness within training, and then place consistency, place discipline, place physical activity, and then place non-distinction. So what this will give you is this will help you to be and place yourselves in environments where you're going to see more bang for your buck. And this will make you aware of any programs, any structures, or anyone who is not helping you out or is not giving you specifically what you need. So now we'll go into nutrition. Now, just full disclosure, I am a certified nutritionist, and I have other certifications that give me the ability to speak on this. I am not a dietitian, so I'm not subscribing you guys anything to eat, but to go into nutrition, this is extremely simple. I told clients this all the time, and I use this analogy a lot with them. We as human beings, when we were in nature, and we were eating plants and animals and fruits and berries and nuts, we were eating things that were closest to its natural state, that were closest to its state where it had the most energy within it. I hope you guys understand photosynthesis and how plants are able to get energy within it using light from the sun. Now, we as humans, we just can't directly, well, you can get energy directly from being in sunlight, but in terms of the digestive system and the distribution of nutrients throughout your body, then you can't just stand outside in the sun. You need to put things within you. So for this, you want to stay away from things that are extremely processed. So, for example, you have an apple and then you have apple pie. Now, the apple is as close to its original source as it can get to. The apple is, you can literally pluck it off a tree. But apple pie, the apple pie had to go through the process of the apple got chopped up. There were chemicals placed into it. There was bread made for the crust, and that bread has other chemicals into it. So when your body is introduced to the apple, the human body, the deep intrinsic understanding of ourselves from the DNA deep within, it understands how to break down an apple and distribute the nutrients accurately throughout the body as efficiently as possible. But in exchange, if you have apple pie and you eat that apple pie, there's chemicals and things within it because it's processed that the body doesn't understand how to process. So your body is really like a machine in certain aspects. There are machine-like aspects of your body. So when your body eats the apple pie and it goes within and is in your gut, it takes longer for the body to digest that apple pie is because it has to work through the chemicals. It has to detoxify things. And then it has to push all of that outside the body. So it takes longer for the body to extract the nutrients that it needs from the apple pie to get it to the other aspects of your body where those aspects of your body need those nutrients in order to cause the right chemical reactions to allow all the systems in your body to continue to perform as the way they're performing. Guys, everything that is going on in your body is a chemical reaction. You are an alchemist, so to speak. You can create gold with your body, but you can only do so if you're giving your body gold. And the gold is those unprocessed things. Most people know what they need to eat. I don't have to sit here and go on a tangent about exactly what you need to eat. You usually do, and it's not that complicated, but you have to have the willingness to go into those things and eat those things. So, and it doesn't have to be, and that doesn't mean you have to eat a bunch of bland food. You can spice it up a bit. You can get a little creative, but just understand the more creative you get and the more you go away from the unprocessed nature of it, the more risk there is that you're putting things within it that your body doesn't necessarily know how to process. And so the detrimental effect of this is that potentially the energy, even to digest food, your body is utilizing energy to digest food. This is why doctors, scientists, and podcasters, they've gone on and said that in certain aspects, you don't want to eat right before you go to bed. Why? Because you're going to be focused, your body's going to be focused in using energy in digesting the food and not going to sleep. So really, you have to understand that your body's using energy. And so if you're this is why when you eat a McDonald's hamburger and it's in your gut, it's sitting there for 3, 4, maybe 5 days because the body doesn't know what a McDonald's hamburger is. You know what a McDonald's hamburger is, but your body doesn't know what it is. But your body knows what protein is. So give your body what it needs in the most purest form, and your body will be able to digest and efficiently get those nutrients to where it needs to go. And the bigger impact is that this could be taken away from a lot of your cognitive function. I've talked about in a lot of episodes, I talked about why everything is connected in a string that connects everything. And guys, the clump of matter that is within your skull, like this isn't a thing that's outside of the body. It isn't in some abstract realm or anything. Like it's right here. Now we can have debates of whether this is a conduit for consciousness and then that creates mind. Like we can have discussions about that, but the structure, function, and the efficiency of this is predicated on the matter that's in here in its healthiness, and it being as healthy as it can be. And it won't be healthy if you're putting within your body things that are not nutritious. And so the nutrients don't just go to a couple areas of the body, it goes to everywhere in the body. So there's nutrients that will end up getting up here. So just be conscious that when you're eating certain things, that it's going everywhere and it could go to here. And this could be messing up the function, operation, and your ability to utilize this very important tool, the mind, the brain. This is why so many people don't like when people drink tap water, because tap water can have some plastic in it. It can not be as good for you. This is why a lot of people drink bottled water, because you drink the water and those things that are within the water, it can go up in here, right? So guys, eat as close to the original source as possible and you'll do swimmingly. Now, another thing is every single person's genetic makeup is different. Every person is born different. Every person is unique. So in this aspect, not everyone is born with the right nutrient distributions in their body. So sometimes you can have deficiencies. You can have a vitamin D deficiency. You can have a vitamin C deficiency. You can have a B vitamin deficiency. And so this is why you want to get blood work done. So I would get blood work done. I would see, okay, and I would get other work done as well. I would see, okay, where am I deficient? And this is when you can begin to do supplementation. So I would put in the nutrition tab, I would put macronutrients. This is proteins, carbs, fats, and even fiber. Fiber helps to break down things. Fiber helps to get things out of the gut, helps with your digestion. I would put micronutrients. Then I would put supplementation. Then I would put hydration. And after that, you're good. After that, you're good. You're fine. Now, you can put other supplements in there. I would put a caveat, because you can do, you could take like special supplements like ashwagandha. You could do elderberry. You could do like zinc. Zinc is good. So those are some things that could be helpful for you as well. So we've gone over training. We've gone over nutrition. Oh, another thing about nutrition real quick before I go into recovery. In nutrition, you want to have a set goal that you want here. And so the body is always fighting for homeostasis. And so you want to figure out your BMR. What is your basal metabolic rate? How many calories is your body burning just from you just sitting here? Then from there, I would see, okay, do I want to put on weight or don't put on weight? Do I just want to stay the same? Then after here, like a calorie is just a unit of energy. And so if you want to gain, you need to put more calories in than you're burning out. If you want to lose weight, you need to burn more calories than you're putting in. So I will put that down in there. And then if you want to just stay the same, just put equal. So that's really it. That's all you need with nutrition. You'll see people and they go on these tangents on nutrition. They go on, and another thing, put in the nutrition section too. In nutrition, you want a way of life. So for myself, I eat clean 6 days of the week, and then one day I have a cheat day. And this is helpful for me. This is beneficial for me because this keeps me in check. And so you do want to have a form of structure, going back to training. You do want to have a form of structure, but you also want to have some subjectivity to it as well. And so this can be with your nutrition. You don't want to go on a diet. Diets just last for a certain amount of time, then you go off the diet. And people do yo-yo dieting. Dieting is never going to work for you. What you want is a way of life. You want a way of eating. You want a lifestyle. You want a lifestyle of healthy eating. That's what you want for yourself. If you can have a lifestyle of healthy eating with the occasional treat, then you'll be more than ready to go. You can have the treats. You can have the donuts. You can have the candy. You can have the chocolate. But there needs to be a yin and a yang. There needs to be balance. And so if you can create, and this can look like whatever it needs to look like for you, but in keeping with the principles in terms of, do you want homeostasis? Do you want to gain? Do you want to lose? Do you want to, and then you want to make sure, I apologize guys with the nutrition being a little bit all over the place, but if you're taking notes, stick with me. I got you. Then if you want to make sure you have the correct macronutrient distribution. So I'll go over this just real quick because a lot of individuals don't know this. So for fat, you want anywhere from, I'll say go as low as 5%, anywhere from 5 to 20% of your total calorie intake to be fat. Then for protein, anywhere from 20 all the way up to 50% to be protein. Then for carbs can be all the way as low as you can have carbs really be anywhere. So it really just depends what you're trying to focus on. So, and then, different strokes for different folks. So there's a lot of riffraff going around about carbs right now, but most people, when they think of carbs, they think carbs in terms of rice, pasta, and like breads and pastries and stuff. Like that isn't really the purest form of a carb. If you go back and you see like the purest form of a grain of a carb is literally like how is bread made? You have barley, you have different stalks. Like how do you get oatmeal? How do you get these things? And so if you get a carb from the closest to its original source, then you see, oh, it's not what the current society views a carb as. Carbs are something completely different. So it's playing around and seeing, okay, sticking with what I said before, getting more to the unprocessed as close as you can. A lot of times when you get to the heavily processed carbs, that's when you get a lot of gluten in it. That's when you get a lot of gluten in it. And the body isn't used to digesting gluten at a high efficiency rate. And so just keep that in mind. If you can find carbs that don't have a lot of gluten in it, kudos. Gluten isn't bad. Some people have like celiac disease and things where they can't eat gluten, but if you don't have celiac disease or something like that, then gluten's fine. But again, you want to still get to as close to the original source as possible. So I think now we can go to, that's just a quick overview of nutrition. I'm just going in just quick overviews in all of these. In another episode, I can talk about this for hours. I can go even more depth into each one, but we're kind of doing like a general overview. Now we'll go into recovery. Recovery is probably the most important thing when it comes to your overall health and wellness. And this is what will impact so many people. And this is what will take you to the next level. But most people do not do any type of recovery at all. They have no recovery routine. They have nothing. They go to the gym and then they go about the rest of their lives. But you do want to have recovery pushed into your schedule. Why? Because a lot of people think that you go into training and this is where the adaptation is taking place. The adaptation isn't taking place in training. What is happening in training is a set environment where you're placing stress, load, frequency, and specific movements on the body. That's what's happening in training. What's happening is recovery. Recovery is when the body then begins to adapt to it and the body begins to get back to a place where it is at homeostasis. So in training, you are using energy in the battery, but then in recovery, you are filling the energy in the battery up. And now what's happening is that the body is then changing how the battery is structured so that when you go back into training, there can be a higher rate. This is where evolution happens, right? So now let's say you're going to, let's use a rabbit example. Let's say you are a rabbit and you've never jumped before as a rabbit and you're out and you're, just walking on the grass. And one day out of nowhere, you've never had this happen to you before. A hawk swoops down from the sky and this big shadow looms over you. And now you got to run for your life. And you're running up trees and you're running around on the ground and you're hopping around and you're jumping into bushes and you're doing all this crazy stuff. And you just manage by the skin of your teeth to escape that hawk. Well, now the day's over. You just essentially ran for your life. And now you have to, what is your body going to do with that? You just trained, right? You just literally went to war. You just had this crazy thing happen to you. And let's go back to training for a little bit. I'll say this real quick. Your body doesn't know what weight is. Your body doesn't know what a dumbbell is, a barbell. Your body doesn't know what a kettlebell is. Your body doesn't even really know what movement is. Your body doesn't know what a breaststroke is, or your body doesn't know what a row is. Your body doesn't know what a cut is. Your body doesn't know how to throw a football or how to shoot a basketball. What your body is doing is just responding to the environment that you put it in. That's all that's happening. So you've put your body in this situation and your body has to respond and adapt so that the next time it's placed in that environment, its likelihood for survival has increased. So this is a survival mechanism, biohacking, where essentially you are forcing this to happen so that from a internal driving aspect of the body, you don't die. So in a real essence, we're real alchemists here, and we're literally sculpting and creating and manifesting for ourselves. And this is what fitness can be for you. But sticking with recovery, sleep. You need anywhere from, I read a book, Why We Sleep, by Dr. Matthew Walker. I believe I got his name right. And you want to sleep anywhere from 9 hours is a sweet spot. But if you can push to 10, or if things are tight for you and the most you can get is maybe like 7.5, that's fine. Every person's, they have their unique circumstance. They have their own unique things going on, and they're in their own unique environment. For myself, I need at least 8 hours of sleep. If I do not get 8 hours of sleep, I will not function at max capacity the next day. So for you, it might be 8.5. It might be 7.5. Now that means you're going to have to manipulate your schedule a little bit, but your body needs that sleep. And your body doesn't just need sleep. Your body needs that deep REM sleep, that sleep where it's like, man, dog. So your body definitely needs that. You do want cold and heat therapy embedded within your program. More so, the heat therapy is I would even stretch when you are doing heat therapy. If you're in the sauna, if you are in, just say you just warmed your body up by using a pad or something, I would take your body and your joints to in range in certain situations. Why? Because not just are you helping to ease some of that lactic acid out of your body, but also if you have done the right nutrition, now you can get some of those nutrients into those deep places within the body where now the body can begin to do its work and repair itself. So instead of thinking of recovery as you're just sitting down not doing anything, imagine that your body is repairing itself. It's rebuilding itself to get ready for the next bout of training. So now you've engaged with recovery, and also we can talk about this as well. So obviously you have physical aspects of recovery. Oh, also, how long do you want to wait in between training sessions? Well, now this is when going to your training program, now you have to learn the uniqueness of it. So I would play around with frequency. I would play around. Obviously, you want fatigue management. Fatigue management is extremely important. I would place fatigue management in the recovery aspect, because this is where you have rest days. This is where you'll have, your stretch sessions. This is when you'll have, your cold and your heat therapy. So I'll put fatigue management in the recovery tab. I would also put meditation. Meditation is very important. Gratitude, prayer. I would put also hydration too as well in recovery, because there are, not necessarily in the nutrition, because there are certain drinks that will aid you, especially if you're sweating a lot, you need electrolytes. So I would put hydration too in here, and I would say more so sports hydration. So, and then I would put parentheses and put like electrolytes if you are like doing it that much, if you're going that hard. So I would have that, and then sleep, meditation, hydration, fatigue management, cold heat therapy. I would put massages. Massaging is very good for you. If you go to a massage therapist, if you go to one of those, dry needling is very good for you. I forget where they do the sculpting. Though that's very good for you as well, where they go, it's like a sculpting device and they go deep within you. I would do that as well. I would put yoga in here too. I'll put yoga in recovery. Yoga can become training. If you go to like a hot body yoga, or you go to like solid core or something like that, it can become training but doing yoga just for a more so the mental aspect of recovery, allowing yourself to be mindful, be present, focus on your breathing, and be at peace for a moment. It can help the entire body to relax, because what will happen is training is now the body's tense, the body's very uptight. You've taken the body essentially through war, and now that you are letting the body know that you are okay, that you can breathe and you can relax. And that's what recovery is. And then the body will begin to work and improve itself. And so training is when you take your body to war. Recovery is when the body improves itself. Nutrition is when you give the body the right nutrients it needs to cause the right reactions to aid you in the recovery. And essentially all of this is biohacking. And now we go to the last point, which is community. Community is probably the most important sphere within this entire quadrant. Specifically, because we as humans, we are meant to connect. And not just connect, we're meant to have very deep connections. If you go and you do research on anyone who's lived to 100 years old, all of them, they live in communities. They live amongst each other. They live with people who are like them. They live with people who they can relate to. And what this will do is this will give you meaning. Now, obviously, you can create meaning in any situation, but being able to share experience, knowledge, and understanding with others helps you to create meaning. And the body, the mind, and the soul, all of these need meaning. They need a place. And if you do not have a place, or you are unsure of your place, and you're trying to seek your place, then what will happen is that unsureness will lead you to questioning things. It will lead you to questioning yourself. It will lead you to doubt yourself. It will lead you to do very less than bright things to get validation for yourself. And so having a community is a very important thing, because it won't just lead to more impact and more of a flourishing life for you. It can improve the longevity of your life as well. And it can also help you in engaging with each of these different spheres. So let's say you find a community of other individuals that are supportive of you, that are looking to aid you, then what will happen is that it will make training way more easier. And so each of these quadrants, the reason I created this model was because I've read hundreds, probably thousands of research papers from scientists. I've listened to, my God, I can't even listen to Andrew Huberman anymore. I've listened to that man's voice so much. I go crazy every time I turn on this podcast. Dr. Pierre Tia, Andy Galpin, Paul Chek. I got certifications from Paul Chek. Name anyone in the industry. Athlean X, Jeff Nippert, all of them. Ben Pokawski. I think I said your name right. All of them. I've dove so deep into it, and literally I put my heart in this. And so this model I've created is to help individuals in engaging with fitness in such a way where it doesn't have to be this crazy, unknown, chaotic thing where this person says this and this person says this and this person says this, and I don't know. Essentially what I'm doing for you guys is I'm connecting the dots for you. And I'm connecting the dots. So now it's like, oh, now I get all the pieces to the puzzle, right? So yeah, there's a training aspect of it. Yeah, you have to engage in, strenuous physical activity every now and then, but that's not it. You got to eat healthy. You got to have proper sleep, proper habits. Then you got to have that community, those people around you that are going to build you up, that are going to support you, that are going to be there for you, that can talk to you. It's crazy how modern society is structured for humans today, is that we have these, I'm looking at a camera right now. We have these amazing devices that can help us to connect with others. And in one way, the blessing is that we have the ability to divulge information like this. We have the ability to share things. We have the ability to connect with people that are across the globe. But within the higher level of connectivity, we have disconnected ourselves from potentially the most impactful resource that is around us. And that's other human beings that are literally right next door, right outside that are walking down the block. And so it's making you, the human, aware that you're not in this alone, that there are other people around you, and be willing to talk to people, be willing to connect with people. Go to the grocery store, say hi to the cash register, go on a walk, say hi, kiss the dog, kiss the baby. Be that person. You can have such a more flavorful life, but you have to be willing. And let's say you're looking for community. Well, community you can find this in a lot of different places. And so I just put community here. It doesn't have to be a fitness community. You don't have to join a CrossFit gym if you don't want to. You have to join the bodybuilding gym. You have to join the local health nut, association. It can be any kind of community. So it's just finding a community, finding friends, finding people, and this will help you. This will create like such a, like I said and before. And then this model, it helps you, yes, physically, but it also goes into the mental and spiritual fields, which create the string. You can divulge both because you can interact with all simultaneously in both ways. It creates a tesseract. So, technically fitness is a 10-dimensional tool for us human beings to use, because in a previous episode, I was kind of wrong. I didn't go really as deep into fitness as I should have. I kind of stopped in the fifth dimension just to help individuals to properly engage with it. But fitness has always been around since the dawn of time. Since literally the Big Bang and the spark in the beginning of the universe, fitness has always been around. Why? What does it mean to be fit? Well, fit, like I said in the episode, is just a thing's ability and capacity and capability. So universe, right? Like the universe, what is the universe's fitness? Think about that. So I hope this episode has been impactful for you guys. I've been talking to you a lot, been spitting on here. These are the 4 quadrants of fitness. And obviously in the middle, you have the overview is biohacking. So really focus on your training in such a way that works for you. The absolute and the subjective aspects of it. In nutrition, eat unprocessed foods as close as you can get to it. In recovery, focus on allowing your body to rest. In community, find positive, like-minded individuals. And then don't just stop in the physical realm of existence. Ascend to the mental and the spiritual planes of existence. And then from there, engage with it as the tool it is to help us as humans, grow and develop ourselves. Guys, fitness, in layman's terms, is simply self-improvement on steroids. And so it can be like this for you. And you can always see more and more progress. And you can always grow and develop more and more and more and become more and more as we, as a human species, are continuing to become more and more. The tragedies of the past, the aspects of ourselves that led to some of the tragedies within human history. It's time for those to end, and it's time for us to step into our destinies and not fall prey to the fate that continues to grip ourselves around our throats. No, we can reach heaven, but we have to do so from a place of humble and meekness. I hope you guys have enjoyed this week's episode of the Flow University YouTube channel. My name is Stefan Boding. I've been your host today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this week's episode, and I hope you use all of the keys that I've been giving you today as a helpful tool for you. You all enjoy and stay blessed.